Tea time with librarians. Welcome everyone to Tea Time with Librarians. My name is Lacey Klemm, and I am the Northwest Regional Coordinator for the Indiana State Library. And our guest today is Jane Feyl from the Eckhart Public Library, which she's also part of the Willinar Genealogy Center. So Jane, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. This is so exciting. You have a wonderful and unique program, Lacey, and it's a real honor to be on the show.
Well, thank you again. And are you ready to spill some tea?
Oh, I am. I have my Eckhart Public Library mug, and I am ready.
Awesome. I'm so glad that you have your Eckhart Public Library mug. I love mugs. I have a lot. So to start, please let us know your position, what your position is at the Eckhart Public Library, and give a brief description of what you do.
Okay. I am one of 3 genealogy specialists here at the Willinar Genealogy Center, which includes Theodore Wheeler, Thomas Irwin, and me. And what we do is outreach, and we do outreach in 3 ways. We empower people so that they have the knowledge and tools to find information about their ancestors and to use the internet and so forth. And then we have a second form of outreach, which is oral history interviews, which is something that our guru tech, Andrew Laverghetta, specializes in. And he's here with me today, and hopefully he'll say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
And with the oral history interviews, we go to a location and we ask people about their families, memories that they've had, about all sorts of things. And in the spring, Andrew and I went to the Auburn Cord Duesenberg Museum, and we interviewed people about their experiences visiting the museum or ancestors who worked there. And we record these interviews, usually 20 or 30 minutes, and they are saved and will be posted on the websites for everybody to view. And that's another way we do outreach. And then the third way we do outreach here is through 2 Facebook shows, Cemeteries of DeKalb and Memories of DeKalb.
Which I've been able to see some of the videos from those, and they're very interesting shows. I'm glad that we're able to talk more about those today. So
yes.
Oh, go ahead.
I am too.
So the Willinar Genealogy Center has the 2 Facebook shows, like you said, Cemeteries of DeKalb and Memories of DeKalb. What was the inspiration for creating these shows?
Well, we've had several presentations where people talk about different places in DeKalb or their memories of a place in DeKalb. And we thought that would be a really cool idea to share the different parts of DeKalb. And we figured the best way to reach the widest audience would be through Facebook. And so we created the 2 shows. We pitched the ideas to our colleagues. I mentioned it to Thomas and Theo, and then Andrew gave detailed ideas as to what we wanted to include on these shows. And we've had really good reception. The 2 most popular topics in our presentations and when the patrons come in have been about the cemeteries in DeKalb County. the symbols on the stones, the history of the cemeteries, and where their ancestors are buried. And then the second most popular topic in our presentations, or that the patrons ask about, are places in DeKalb, such as, old movie theaters, an old hotel that was recently torn down, the Auburn Hotel, and places like that. So that determined the 2 Facebook shows that we wanted to create. And let's see. So we brought 2 clips with us today that we want to show. And the first one is the cemeteries of DeKalb. And I believe this is our most recent episode of the show. Andrew and I went to Fairfield Cemetery, which is in DeKalb County, which is close to the town of Corona, or it's not too far from Auburn, about 12 miles north. And Auburn is in DeKalb County, the second closest state to the state of Michigan. So anyway, Andrew and I went to Fairfield Cemetery, and what's really great about this episode is that there is a Nobel Prize winning winner for chemistry, and then they're really cool stones with symbols. And then the third cool thing about the cemetery is a mastodon, which was found on somebody's property. And the person whose property it is, he's buried at the Fairfield Cemetery. And it was discovered back in 1897 on his property, which is just about the largest complete skeleton of a mastodon. And this mastodon back in, I think it was 1897 or 1898, was sold to the Carnegie Museum in Pittsburgh. And this is a 30-second clip that shows me standing next to the stone of the fella whose land the mastodon was found at. So ready to show the clip.
Okay.
This is the stone of Nicholas Spindler. A complete mastodon skeleton was found on his farm by his son Laurel. And this was in 1897. And a year later, 1898, it was sold to Andrew Carnegie for a very small sum. And this was in 1898. And it was sold to Andrew Carnegie, and it is now in the Museum of Natural History in Pittsburgh. How you filmed us at the cemetery? Because we could do nothing, none of this without Andrew. He's amazing, does everything. So Andrew, can you tell us a little bit about how you filmed this episode, please?
Yeah. What's going into it is we recorded some of the audio from the whole episode on, like, while we were sitting down at a table, very like this one, and then use that in any of the clips that we didn't have the microphone, because there's a little clip-on microphone, I think you could see it in there, that goes straight to the SLR camera, which is much like this one that's right here. And then we used I used a big kind of gimbal that you can see back there. And that helps stabilize the camera. So just a way to be able to record on site. And then I could use different shots of like B-roll, we call it. And then I could use some of the audio that we recorded separately when we were in the cozy, the lower level of the main library as well. So it's a combination of 2 different audio recordings.
Thank you, Andrew Laverghetta. And before we continue, can I change the subject? Your show is fascinating and a huge trailblazer where we all can share ideas about libraries, what we're doing, and learn from each other. What can you tell us about your show, Tea Time with Librarians?
So I had the idea of bringing this to creation. I either wanted to do some type of like interview program or a podcast, and a podcast honestly just seemed a little too intimidating for me. So I thought this interview type program would be a little easier for me. But the idea really came from I previously worked at the East Chicago Public Library in East Chicago, Indiana. And we had a wonderful, which she's still there. Latanya Hicks is their public relations director, and she had did an interview program called Latanya's Latest. And she would, excuse me, have people on from our community, but also would interview staff. Like when summer reading was going on, we would get on with her and talk about all the cool things for summer reading. And so I just really kind of, she was the inspiration. Her show was the inspiration for this. And when I started traveling around to the different libraries, because I do library visits, just you guys are doing so many wonderful things. And I don't think it's out there enough for people to really understand how important our libraries are and what we are doing for our communities. So this really is just my love letter of being able, libraries to be able to brag about all the cool things that they're doing. And I kind of wish now I might have changed the name a little bit, because I don't want library staff to think, oh, well, I can't be on this show if I'm not a librarian, because that's not true. Any library staff that feels comfortable to do this interview program with me that just wants to really highlight all the fun things that the library is doing is welcome. It's not just librarians, it's just Tea Time with Librarians sounded good. So that's what we ended up with. So that's kind of how Tea Time with Librarians came about, and I'm just really having a great time interviewing the different staff from Indiana State Library, and I'm so glad that you reached out to do this, and hopefully I have a few more already planned for later in the year with different directors and different library staff. So it's just really exciting.
Mhm. So, how long have you been doing this?
So the first, it's only just been a few months. It premiered, I guess, like in November of last year with Kara Cleveland, my supervisor, who is the professional development office supervisor. And then and it's just kind of started from there. It took me a while to, I've only actually been in this position for a little bit over a year. I started in October of 2023. So yeah, a little over a year. And that was one of the things that I knew I wanted to start a few months into being in this position. And so it took me a little while to kind of plan it and get everything going and how I was going to do it. And I may have to talk to Andrew about some of the equipment you have, because that's pretty awesome. So I might email you. So
I
yeah,
know
it
he'll
started.
be happy. Yes.
So it started in November, and I plan on doing one a month. For right now, I'm hoping maybe to be able to do more later on if somebody's like interested in, and it's not within that. If I already have somebody planned for the month, then I'd still be able to do it and put them in some time. So, but right now it's I am posting an episode once a month on the second Tuesday of the month.
And I've watched all the episodes, and they're fascinating. You've selected such interesting people with diverse ideas, and it's wonderful.
Well, thank you. Like I said, I've had a lot of fun getting to know them and their positions better, and I so it's been a lot of fun for me. So thank you for asking.
So, oh, I guess I should talk about go back to talking about the show. The second clip is from our second show, Memories of DeKalb. And we talk about different people and places in DeKalb. The first episode was about the Auburn Hotel, which I believe was built in around 1865. Andrew would know more about this because he was in the first episode of the series. But in this clip, this is the one that was released, I believe, last week, and it's had the most views on our Facebook show, and it was released, I think, a week ago today. And the last time I checked, had 894 views,
That's
which we're
amazing.
very happy about. So in this one, we're talking about a silent movie actor, and his name was John Bowers, and he was born in Garrett, which is in DeKalb County, about, I don't know, 12 miles west of Auburn. And he was a silent movie actor. And it is said that one of the characters in the movie A Star is Born was partially based on his life.
Oh, wow.
And A Star is Born, I'll just talk for about 30 seconds. A Star is Born is a movie that's been filmed 4 times. The most recent time was earlier in this century with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper.
Mhm.
But anyway, John Bowers, he was in about 90 films in the silent movie era, and he married this starlet. And her career transitioned past into the talkies, and his did not. And he started drinking and eventually committed suicide. But anyway, in this clip that we're about to show, my colleague and I, Thomas Irwin, were talking about his life and how his career is declining in show business. So, of course, the fella on the left is Thomas, and I'm on the right.
They didn't make them into talking pictures. His movies really aren't remembered,
Okay.
and hers were.
I assume that this had, an effect on him psychologically there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he had to cope there.
Mm-hmm.
What did he do there? Did he?
He drank, yeah.
Ah.
And as her career rose, his did not. And he drank more often, and so he wasn't cast in movies because he was difficult to work with. He would appear on set and be drunk.
Well, that's a spiral,
Mm-hmm.
downward spiral right there.
Yeah.
And, so that's from our most recent show, Facebook show from Memories of DeKalb. And you can watch any of our shows on our Facebook page. You just do a search for Eckhart Public Library and Facebook, and you can click on, the more down pointing arrow, and then go to videos. And at the top of the page, we're in the latest videos section. And you can view other episodes of Cemeteries of DeKalb and Memories of DeKalb, and then other previous filming that Andrew has done all the films, our story times, visits to different locations. I believe one of them is the Art Museum in Garrett, and so forth. But that's so far, we've done, I think it's four episodes of each series. It's fairly new for us too.
Well, I would imagine that it would take some time for you to do some research on these subjects and then be able to do that type of video. I didn't realize, I knew A Star is Born was inspired by true events, but I didn't realize that they were from Indiana. So so that's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yes, yes, it is. It very clearly, closely monitors follows his life in Indiana. But I often we often ask our patrons, who they would like to see or what they'd learn more about, or they tell us what they'd like to learn more about. And we also different emailing lists. We ask who the people would be most interested in, and we ask the staff the same thing. But we have a lot of episodes in the mix. On Monday, Andrew and I are going to the Waterloo Cemetery, and we'll be showing a stone that's in the shape of a Union soldier and other headstones that are interesting, where that are old, where you've got the headstone, and then you have marble, I think, that goes from the head of the person to the feet of the person, and that was they would put dirt in that, and then the families would plant bushes or flowers or so forth. But that's an upcoming episode of the Cemeteries of DeKalb that I think is going to be interesting, and again, they'll show up on our Facebook page.
And you're gonna brave the cold to go out on
Yes.
Monday. Hopefully the weather will be a little bit warmer than it has been the last few days and no snow.
And we'll pack our snow boots and so forth. Andrew, will we use any of our equipment? Does the temperature affect the cameras or anything like that?
It affects me. It affects me.
The cameraman. It affects the cameraman. So this is a good segue into the next question. What advice would you give to other libraries trying to do something similar?
Well, the best advice is to find something that's lacking in your service, or something that your patrons have mentioned, such as what can you tell us about cemetery symbols, or I've always wanted to know about the person, like John Bowers, which is what we did. Find something that's lacking in your services, and then do a little bit of research, like I did, about John Bowers. I went back and did a lot of research about him, and then the concept of the show, and then I mentioned it to my supervisor and his supervisor, and then my colleagues and Andrew, and everybody thought it would be a good idea. And then we went with that. I collaborated with everybody, and what's the best way for us to reach the widest audience? And we decided the Facebook show, and so forth. And that's the advice I would give everybody. And then you work as a team to make that happen, whether it's live or recorded, whatever's interesting to you, everybody on the team. Because if you're bored, it's not something that's interesting, then you won't be enthusiastic about it.
It does help to have a passion for it, or that interest of learning about it, not just for your patrons, but for yourself. So I think that's great advice. Is there any special equipment do you think they need to get started, or could they just use their phone and be able to do that first video?
Well, I'll let Andrew answer that question, since he's our Andrew Laverghetta. Answer that question.
Yeah, I'll just go back to this camera here. So we had these left over. I don't know if I mentioned this, but we had these from the pandemic to be able to do story times and interesting cooking videos and things like that. But for something like what we do, you don't need like 2 cameras, 3 cameras. You don't need a gimbal. You can use a phone. And one of the things that I do think helped our videos that we were doing at the library overall was the wireless microphones. And now for like less than $50, about $30 or so, you can get a thing that will hook on to your phone, as long as you have some kind of a jack, whether it's like a headphone jack or like or USB-C or like Apple's until recently Lightning, and then it can have little clip-on microphones as well. So something like that will help in recording on location. You don't need to have table microphones and mixers and all that kind of stuff. To get started. The best idea is to get started right away and then to work on it from there.
And you don't need the microphones. You can do everything, Andrew, with just your computer, if you have one, and the built-in things as well
Yeah.
as the phone.
Yeah, like different computers have come already with some video editing software, basic video editing software. And there are, of course, free options for that. You don't need to have Adobe Premiere and all that kind of stuff in order to piece together videos. There's a whole lot of editing that we do that can't be done on free software, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if somebody decides to film it, yeah, you can use your phone. Is it possible to use your phone, Andrew, to edit your smartphone with an app?
It's got different things that may hold you back in certain ways. Like in some of the videos, if you watch, you can like layering video with audio. Some basic or free editing software on mobile devices might not be able to be equipped with that. For example, I use iMovie on my iPhone, and I don't think that can do multiple audio tracks or multiple video tracks at the same time. But again, you can if you're crafty with it, you can still have just straight audio, straight video, record clips at a time, and then you can edit them together and add simple transitions and things like that.
Well, thank you. I think that kind of gives people some perspective on how they can get started, and then if it's something that they're going to be doing for the long haul, then maybe then you invest in some of that better equipment and the editing software and things like that. So I appreciate you letting us know what you can do in that instance.
But I'm so lucky to have Andrew. He's always pushing himself with new things to do. He wants to learn, lifelong learning, like this show, using a camera and the big microphone. Well, thank you, Andrew.
So what do you find to be the most rewarding part of your job?
Oh, well, that's going back to the first thing we do, giving the patrons the tools to use a different software to find their ancestors. But the most exciting thing is when somebody learns about the ancestors' occupation or where they lived, and get really excited and tell me about what they learned. One example is we had some teens in high school come in. They had a project to do some research about a local person from DeKalb County, and they came in here to our center, and the kids, the young adults would come in and they'd learn something about their person, and they'd say, Jane, look at this. This person did this and that, and I'm so excited to learn about this person. That's the best thing for me, when somebody learns something about a person and it gets really excited, and I learn about it too. that's that's the most wonderful thing for me. Well, it's possibly the main reason I do this, the genealogy.
Especially the teens, if they're getting really excited about something, because they can be kind of, oh, that's all right.
Mhm.
So,
That's right, and they're so excited about it that one of our colleagues, Theodore Wheeler, he created a workshop for the teens to learn the basics of genealogy. So
well, that's
it
awesome.
is exciting. Yes.
What a great program for them, because you never know what you're going to find out about your family and ancestors. Hopefully, all good things, but sometimes
Mhm.
little secrets kind of leak out. So,
But that's right. It includes things like how to use Ancestry, how to fill out a family tree, and then everybody's favorite is to go to the cemetery and learn about the symbols. But yeah, we're always trying new things here at the library, which is we all like.
well, I have an idea for you. I just thought about this. I follow somebody that makes the recipes that are off of headstones. So, I don't know if there's any like that in your area of your cemeteries that have recipes on their headstones, but that might be a thought.
I haven't seen any. That is exciting. So your friend is doing something with that, promoting
Not my
it?
not my personal friend. It's just somebody that I found like on social media, but I follow them and because I like to cook, and so they go to around to different cemeteries, and I don't remember what area they're in, but some of the headstones have recipes from the person that is buried there, and so she makes the recipes and posts it on social media, and I just think that's a really fun idea. I had never really noticed that at some of the cemeteries around us, but that that could be that could be a new show.
Yeah, that'd be a great episode. Yes, and I know Andrew would have fun going out there and doing that and then filming the up. Thank you.
And eating cookies.
So I'm really inspired by that. Yes.
If
Thank
I
you,
find,
Lacey.
I'll try to find that information. I'll send it to you so that you see how she does it. But yeah, it's pretty interesting that because like I said, I love to cook, and food brings you together, and that's sometimes the one thing that you remember about a family member is, oh, they made the best whatever cookies or something. So,
Yes. Thank you.
and so my last question is, and this could be for you and Andrew, what are you currently listening to or reading right now?
Ah. Well, mine is an old book about Dewey, the library cat.
Yes.
And I don't know. I don't have the book because somebody checked it out. I had to return it so somebody else could read it. But he's just the cutest little kitty, little Dewey. But if you don't know about him, um, he was I believe it was a public library in Indiana, and he was found on a very cold morning in the library book drop, and
Oh,
they they nursed him and brought him back to life. And I think for 17 years, he
wow.
was their library cat, and he took care of everybody and helped with the shelving. And they have a whole website about him and different products and so forth. And he was just adorable. Andrew, what have you been reading or listening to or watching?
I'll just speak from off camera here, so I don't know if it fits in with your video aspect. So, so I have a 5-year-old, and what I've been reading the most of has been Magic Treehouse. All was it Mary Pope Osborne?
Mhm.
Those we've gotten to book 32, I think it is so far over the last half a year or so, probably. And then I don't read a whole lot of fiction myself. I read to learn about things that I'm interested in. So the hobby du jour is model railroading. So I read about how to make little miniature trains look real.
Well, that's awesome. Magic Tree House, great series. I don't realize how many books there are in that series. There's quite a few. And but yeah, nonfiction is great too. So like being able to learn what your different things. So, but thank you for sharing.
So what book or series are you reading or watching right now?
So currently I am listening to Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. It's the third book in her Fourth Wing series. And I am reading it's called The Beyond by Agnes Stone. She is an independent author that I follow. So I'm reading that right now and it's really good. And then obviously listening to the other book. So I want to thank you guys so much, you and Andrew, for being on Tea Time with Librarians. This has been an absolutely wonderful conversation that we've had, and that's one of the goals of Tea Time with Librarians, just to have an informal chat and be able to talk about all of the really fun things that the library is doing, and you guys are doing some great work. Please be warm on Monday when you go out to the cemetery. Hopefully the weather is not too bad. And I just want to thank you guys so much for being with me today.
Oh, Lacey, thank you so much for having us on the show. It's been a real real honor, and I really hope that you continue this show. What I've seen so far is fascinating. Andrew?
Yeah, thank you, and continue your venture with it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Going to stop the recording. Okay, so let's